Welcome to the Beach Brothers Show. It's time for another episode of the Beach Brothers Show. I'm Seko and I'm here with my good friend Conrad. How you doing, Conrad?
I'm doing excellent. How are you today?
Good. I'm waking up after being a little tired after voting at the Republican mass meeting yesterday. That standing in line for 2 hours.
That was a bit of a
They ran
trip.
out of They ran out of ballots.
Yeah.
For some reason, the registrar gave them faulty records, so they didn't have everybody's name and registration.
They didn't
So
even have
I
one of the
voted.
candidates.
Look, Jimmy
Mhm.
Frost, who was one of the candidates, he wasn't on the list.
Various actual politicians like Jen Kakins wasn't on the list. Some council people weren't on the list. It feels like a massive amount of it's not deliberate. I can't say it's deliberate, but it feels like mass letdown. Wide
I would
letdown.
agree. And there were a lot of people here in Virginia Beach, our lovely city of Virginia Beach, who were unable to find themselves on the list and had to get a provisional ballot. But I'm Seko Varner, and this is the Beach Brothers Show. I'm here with Conrad. Just to give everybody a quick overview, Conrad is running for Virginia Beach City Council, a Rose Hall seat. If you're interested in joining our show, contact Conrad. He's our booker. Jose Cruz is not with us tonight, but he's our beach bully. He's our business bully. And if you're interested in highlighting your business on the show, get in contact with Jose. All right. And I do consulting and entertainment work. So if you're interested in getting some of that work, then get in contact with us. Get in contact with me in particular. One of the things that I do is credit repair. So if you're interested in improving your credit, I can help you with it. I have 2 plans, and just click the links below and you can find out more about that information. We also want to highlight our sponsor for this evening, which is Tally and Twine Watches. It's time for you to get a Tally and Twine. So if you like a high quality watch that's even built here in the Hampton Roads area, you're employing, you're supporting Hampton Roads businesses, and you're getting a fine, exquisite high quality watch from tallyandtwine.com. tallyandtwine.com. Conrad, have you gotten your Tally and Twine watch yet?
I'm not on time with Tally and Twine just yet. Hopefully, sometime soon I'll be able to get out to the great city of Portsmouth and look around and secure me a nice timepiece. And I really appreciate the ones that are blue because they're popping, they're catching the eye.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your race and what's happening in Virginia.
All righty. Well, good evening there, Beach Brothers Show viewers. And today from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., I was at the hotel looking at 55 rooms sold on a July night that usually has about 90 rooms sold. Rates were at $199 and they're usually at $219 for this time of year. So we're still in this. Virginia and Hampton Roads' new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday were down from Monday's reported totals, which saw a record-breaking 500 plus cases in Hampton Roads, but both are still seeing new cases trend up overall. Hospitalizations statewide are well below their record peak, but they are trending back up, and reported deaths have been trending back up overall after dipping in June, though the past few days they've been a little bit less. Speaking today, the governor focused on Hampton Roads and suggested businesses enforce mask policy pretty hard. If Virginia goes to phase 2 later and stays in it, then the governor won't allow in-person school classes. President Donald Trump is greatly pushing for schools to reopen, but that stance isn't supported by teachers' associations nationwide. They're properly worried about child and teacher administration safety. 1 second here. And of course, this didn't stop competing protests at Virginia Beach City Hall at 4:30 today. On one side, folks protested the Virginia Beach Police Department, hoping to get a stronger citizens review board for police accountability. The other side sort of derisively calling the entire thing Black Lives Matter, as if such protests are just lumped in and ignorable, wanted to meet in the same place to back the blue, whatever that is supposed to mean when the simple request was a review board. And remember that, by the way, come November when you see my name on the ballot. I'm running for Virginia City Council, Rose Hall's seat. I endorse strengthening the Citizens Review Board for our police. And if you like that too, among other criminal justice ideas, follow the Conrad Chesverner for Virginia Beach Facebook page and go to raisethemoney.com/cchesverner to drop off a modest donation. In other Virginia news, Delegate Ayala has begun her campaign for Virginia's lieutenant governor. If she wins, she'd be the first woman to hold the position. And we've reached out and we hope to have Delegate Ayala on the show soon. Also, Jay Jones, Norfolk delegate, has declared to run for Attorney General. We'd love to have him on as well. And it's notable that some school districts, and Virginia Beach is of note, have allowed for a conditioning for fall sports like football as long as certain health plans are followed. Compare this with the University of Hampton, Seko, which has suspended for fall sports, including pirate football. School decisions on athletics are key, and we like to bring on important folks with an interest in schools too, which includes Louis Cortez and Paula Telkamp, candidates for Centerville and at-large school board respectively. Tonight is Jeffrey Doc Feld, a candidate for Virginia Beach at-large school board. He's lived here for 20 years, and he and his wife have 3 school children in VBCBS. His wife is a teacher, and he's looking to push the district to improve. He has a health practice in the area. He's a podiatrist, and that service has been in many places with medical assistance for participants at the Virginia Beach Sand Soccer Tournament, his being a Cub Scout volunteer, a volunteer in various youth sports in the area too. So his experience on many fronts will lead the Beach Brothers to asking, why run for school board and why in 2020?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I greatly appreciate it. I'm a big fan of your show, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and all the listeners out there. Basically, I'm running to make a difference for the kids, parents, teachers, and the staff. Over the years, I've heard from my wife, other teachers, my friends, patients at my office, and mostly, like me, they're frustrated with the bickering, politics, lack of understanding of some student concerns. The straw that actually broke the camel's back for me was when the school board accepted the school calendar for 2021. And such had the school begin on a major religious holiday. However, what they failed to consider at that time is that if a student or even a teacher took off for observation of that holiday, then that student would be disenrolled from classes. That's right, disenrolled. This would jeopardize their enrollment in AP programs, academies, and the student would have to appeal to the local principal for an exemption. Now, why should students have this extra obstacle? I have no idea. So with the grassroots movement and the press that got involved, the board decided to reverse course. Thank goodness. So instead of being on the outside complaining, I figured I would continue and step up for the future. Of course, I asked my family, and they were all on board with me becoming a candidate. I even waited a couple of days and asked the kids again because I really wanted to get them to give an honest opinion, an honest view. And they were all excited. My youngest son even said to me, when you win, you'll look out for everyone, right, Daddy? And I told him, yes, of course, because everyone deserves an equal and equitable education. But if I don't win, then you and your brothers will again see that you should always try for something you believe in. I mean, I know when I'm elected, I'll make the hard decisions on what's best for not only my children, but also all of our community's kids.
Good. And I would like to touch on some of that. You're a Hampton Roads medical provider and a proficient volunteer. So the Beach Brothers are curious how you'll be able to balance school board responsibilities with your practice overall.
Well, I don't sleep a lot, so that's first. No, I'm joking. I'm in a very fortunate position as my parents guided me as a young man and stressed that my job was to be the best student possible at that time. While I was involved in a lot of athletics, my parents always reminded me that academics always came first. This also taught me how to manage my time. Well, I like to think that my parents' advice paid off. Don't really tell them that, because they'll think they're right all the time. But it's paid off because running my podiatry office in both Virginia Beach and my office location in Norfolk, I've had the unique opportunity to make my own schedule. I've done so when any of my children would have a school function, a show, a concert, or just performing at the local students' talent show here in their school. I have planned and or rearranged my schedule and made myself available for my kids. Therefore, I would also do such for the school board, any various meetings, visiting the schools, or meeting with concerned parents.
All right. Good stuff. All right. So in 2018, the school board adopted a master plan to rebuild schools. The city budget gives roughly $1 billion with a B. Should be a higher case B, actually.
Yes.
to schools yearly, but it isn't enough to meet rebuilding projects plus everything else the school board needs. Let me repeat that. The school budget gives roughly a uppercase B billion, but it isn't enough to meet rebuilding projects. If elected to the school board, how much of a priority will it be for you to strongly push for school replenishment?
Great question. Of course, I want the schools to be rebuilt. We need the best learning spaces and the best resources for our students. However, I would reprioritize our expenditures. The priority should be in having teachers, psychologists, school counselors, speech therapy, special education aides, teacher assistants, etc. And it takes a village to educate a child. Without that village, then guess what? We're just there and looking at pretty buildings. All right? Also, the school buildings used to be paid for by the state. And then after the state stopped paying for it, they made the localities pay for it. I would hope that the state reconsiders funding for infrastructure because in the future, that would allow us to spend the funds on other items that are more in need.
Okay, interesting. We've had a couple of questions from some of our viewers, so I'm going to pose one or two of those before I continue.
Sure.
From Lindsay. How you doing, Lindsay? She's a friend of the Beach Brothers. If you're going to quote the Department of Criminal Justice stats, would you say that you are against the preschool to prison pipeline?
Okay, so putting up statistics are just that. You can derive whatever you want. What I think Lindsay is getting at is I think she wants to find out, and correct me if I'm wrong if you want to do another Facebook question on that, Lindsay, is what is my opinion on that pipeline? We need to stop it, period. It definitely exists. We need to educate teachers, staff on cultural differences so we can stop that pipeline. So having the Department of Criminal Justice have statistics, which I have put on my webpage in the past, that was just going to show people that there is a disparity amongst the schools and what teachers feel in their school environment.
Okay. And one from one of your competitors, Brother Luis Cortez III. He was with us last week. Salute, Luis. I saw him yesterday at the mass meeting. What are your plans for security in the schools? And I know he has a strong security background. And do you agree with the other candidates in regards to security in the schools?
Well, I know Luis. He's not a direct competitor of me. He's running for another position. I'm running it at large.
Okay.
For security reasons, I think it's very important. All right. We do have a shortage of officers. We have a reduction of people signing up for the police force. We need police department partnership. That is very important. Also, the possibility of getting retired military that would go through an extensive training for a civilian population may help alleviate the problem. And therefore, this will run toward any violence and not like any Parkland issues. So if they are trained properly, know how to utilize the weapon properly, and then again, go through the civilian training, then they can actually run towards the problem so we don't have a Parkland shooting again.
All right. And Paul asked, name 2 things that you would like to do to reduce that pipeline. And then I'll pass on to Brother Conrad. Name 2 things you would like to do to reduce that school to prison pipeline. Good question.
Sure. I love when my competitors ask me questions because that means to me that they're scared of me, which is great. So in regard to the pipeline out there, all right, it's not just two things, all right? It is cultural sensitivity. It is retraining teachers, retraining security guards, retraining everybody, and not just once a year so they have a folder and they put it behind their desk. This is something that needs to be continuous, all right? We have PBIS, which is a great program, but PBIS needs to be started in the younger grades. So when you start doing a PBIS program to a senior in high school, they've already learned the system. They already learned what can be done, what they can get away with. We need to set the rules for everybody. Everybody needs to know the rules, not only just the students, but also the teachers, and hold them accountable for those things. I mean, I can keep on going on, but I know you got some time with your show, so I want to get back to regular things.
Yeah, I want to hold off on Rebecca's question at the moment. I want to get back to that a little later, because right now I would like to, of course, reiterate that school board membership is an important position, as education is so important, and that leads to the whole system. So we at the Beach Brothers would like to ask, what is your overall philosophy regarding public education?
Well, public education should be available for everybody, period. All right? It is something that it needs to be done in an equitable way, providing all the kids with tools that they need to succeed. But I believe that every school board member should be independent and not involved with partisan politics to benefit the students. Realistically, it's about the kids, not politics.
Okay. All right. It's about the school, the kids, not politics. Well, speaking of the kids, school safety includes kids, teachers, and administration, students, teachers, and administration. It's decision-making time. So let's assume that the school system at large decides that we're going to have in-person classes. So what should we do to address possible quarantines? And how should we deal with sick days that COVID-19 might produce?
Excellent question. All right. Having a science background, I do not support a return to 5-day school unless safety can be accounted for. Let me make that clear again. I do not support a return to 5-day schools unless safety can be accounted for. It's hard to contain head lice in a classroom. What about a virus that we can't even see? All right. Teachers are trained professionals in education and not infectious disease. Unfortunately, we have limitations in school setting besides the issue associated with spacing and sterilizing and cleaning. Having a plan on paper is good in theory, but when dealing with children, the plan needs to be not only practical, it needs to be practicable. If you're an educator, parent, babysitter, you come across a child who won't listen to your instructions. I know it's a big surprise. They might not listen to you. The child will be a child, and to no fault of their own. All right? They may interact with another student, use their sleeve to wipe their mouth or nose, just grab you and give you a hug. I get grabbed in my office. The kids want to give me a hug. My wife, who's a teacher, she gets grabbed to give hugs. Other teachers experience that. So it's not a straightforward answer. This is a fluid situation. However, I do follow the CDC guidelines both professionally and personally, and my wife, a teacher, and I try to do the best with our 3 children. For the second part of your question, because I'm a politician who's going to answer your questions, I do feel that teachers and staff should be paid. Students should be quarantined for 2 weeks, and the entire class should be tested. All right? The entire class should be tested. Now, hopefully, without giving consideration to HIPAA, we can inform all the parents in the school, especially those who ride the bus route and the ones who are in that class.
Okay. Wow, I heard a little bit of an echo there. Okay, it's gone. All right. Another viewer question. If elected to the school board, will you represent us or will you bow down to, this is the way it's always been. Also, will you stand behind the teachers and empower them to be able to discipline unruly students? Good question, Rebecca, Amber. Rebecca,
Amber,
we are going to get to your questions.
It's a great question, Amber. I'm not going to bow down to anybody. The only person that I answer to is my wife. All right, that's it. Besides that, I make my own decisions. I run my offices. I'm the one who controls the budget. I'm the one who hires and fires. I'm the one who sets the rules. So I'm not going to be beholden to anybody. And that is why I'm running as an independent candidate. I have no problem talking to people on every side of the aisle. I will speak to people and they can disagree with me. And that's okay. If you disagree with all my views and points, then don't vote for me. There's another candidate. If you agree with me and you want the independent nature of it, great. I'm your candidate, because I'm not going to vote just because someone says vote this way. I'm going to vote for what's going to be right for not only my children, but all of our community's children, because we have to make decisions for today and the future. But great question.
Speaking of great questions, before I jump in here, I want to mention that when I was leaving for work today, I hopped in my 2017 Jetta that I got from Southern Volkswagen in Chesapeake, which is over at 1248 South Military Highway. And that isn't too far from the ocean front if you take the interstate, by the way. A Southern car from quality Southern folks like Cynthia Rawlings and Charlie Roy will serve you well, as it did for me on the way home today. And folks heading to Volkswagen to say the Beach Brothers suggested coming over is one of my priorities. And the Beach Brothers also are curious about your priorities, Dr. Feld. What would you say are your chief priorities as someone looking to be voted on for the school board?
Yeah, I would say my top one would be an equitable education, including the use of technology. I think that's really important. Make and be part of decisions that are smarter with our expenditures. Have a reduction in teacher programs that cause additional work for teachers. So, for example, having too many programs is neither efficient nor productive for the student's learning environment. Focusing on a few programs, such as PBIS, like I mentioned before, and others that the teacher can be proficient at, and thus get the desired results, will help everybody in the long run. So a lot of times I hear teachers say, I don't want to fill in the paperwork. It takes too long. I'm not getting the results. Well, you're right. They have not been trained adequately. I, in medical field, go through continuing medical education. Teachers go through continuing education. But if they keep on going to meetings and they get this loose leaf binder of what they're supposed to do, and it sits behind their desk and it gets dust, and how many of these programs are they supposed to be doing? All right, let's narrow the focus. Let's get maybe 3 or 4 of them that they can not only work on, they can get continuing training on it on a regular basis, not yearly basis. Like they can have a meeting in school and, oh, this is how you fill in this form better, or this is how you do it on the computer, so they can understand it and therefore see the results quickly so they can become better at it.
I would like to take this opportunity here to combine Rebecca's questions into one solid question. We'll lead off with your opinion overall on PBIS and student discipline. And I'll also add that to how are you going to fix the division between administration and staff, lack of communication, and teachers who feel they are unsupported by their administration?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that also goes to, I'm going to kind of go a little bit to the side on that, Rebecca, in regards to there's a lot of teachers, especially now with COVID, who want to express their opinion and want to express their voice. They are scared to do such on surveys unless they're anonymous. All right. They are scared of getting repercussions from administration. When I'm elected, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing right now. And the question is, what am I doing right now? I have spoken to many people who are currently on the school board. I've picked up the phone, I've called them, I've reached out to them, and I've spoken to a lot of them. I've spoken to members who are on the city council, which, by the way, city council is how we as a school board get funding. We get funding from different plans and programs that are set up. So there's a revenue sharing program. So if we don't have a good relationship either with the other members who are on the school board and we don't have a good relationship with the city council, and we don't have a good relationship with community leaders, where are we left? And also on top of that, how are we teaching the students that we're trying to educate? We need to teach these students that you need to go out and talk to people. Just because someone has a different view of me doesn't make them a bad person. What makes it a bad person or a bad situation is when they refuse to sit down and discuss the issue. So I was on another radio program months ago, and I was told by a lot of people, why did you go on that radio program? That individual has totally different views that I do. Why would you ever go on there? I need to know why, because I'm not going to support you otherwise. And I said very simply, if I can go on every radio program, if I go on every TV show, and I can talk and get my opinions, they might not agree with me. But if one agrees with me, then I've done my job. So you have a lot of people saying, I'm not going to go on CNN. And other people saying, I'm not going to go on Fox. Why not? What do you lose by talking? Air. That's it. Time. To me, it's worth putting the time and the effort for me to be your representative on school board. I have no interest in moving up the ladder. I will not go for city council. I will not go for any other position. I have a wife. I have 3 kids. I run 2 medical offices. I have the time for school board. I don't have time for anything else. And in fact, I don't want to do anything else. My aspiration is to represent you and your family and your neighbors and your children and the families who haven't yet moved into the area on the school board.
Well, in looking up your drive for improvement for the whole district, we at the Beach Brothers note that improvement of the district angle overall, specifically on equal opportunity to succeed and equitable education for all students. So we would like you to break down your view of equity and equality here, what you think might be lacking, and what you wish to do.
Yeah, great question again. The best way I can do that is with an example, okay? So many people feel and felt that last school quarter was not fair, and their child was doing the work, and as the parent motivated them, and some others didn't do the work, and those got to pass and move forward to the next grade. And they would say, well, it's not equitable for those children. All right. Well, it's not equitable for a student in middle class and good support structure, and the student who has a single parent who is an essential worker, albeit a custodian at a hospital or something. And oh yeah, that child has to watch her younger siblings during the school close down of COVID. How is that equitable to make that child who's now watching her siblings, all right, to make her hand in an assignment when she's taking care of her family? However, because I know we're going to get some comments on this, however, now we can make decisions. And if it's safe, let the teachers know so the teachers can set up a system and hold students accountable, and thus make it equitable currently in this pandemic. Because we are in times that they're writing books about, or they will write books about. All the kids right now will say, oh yes, I remember when. And if the worst thing that they had to do is stay home, play in the front yard, in the backyard, play on the iPad, play electronic games, and play with the parents, board games, and read books, then they're going to survive and move on. But we have the professionals, the teachers who know how to educate these students. So if they're told, we're going to go back and the decision is it's going to be all online, I have no doubt they're going to step up and figure out the best way to teach those students. Just like if they were told it's safe, we can go back to 5 days, they have the lesson plans, they know how to do it. So you have to give a lot of credit to the teachers. Now, in long line of that, if we don't go back, how can we do it? There's many ideas. I've spoken about the idea of maybe you could put some teachers on a bus. Have the bus go around, whether it's once a week, twice a week, to those school bus stops. And that 3rd grader can go to the bus stop. That 3rd grader can see their teacher, Mr. or Mrs., and they can hand in their assignments. They can talk about the things that they couldn't do electronically. Okay, that's the issue. We want to get more and more kids to feel and get the responses from their educators. That's just one idea of many.
Okay. Paul put a comment up there. We'll make sure we bring. You know what? Let's bring it back up. How can you claim you're independent when Vicky Manning helped you get all your petitions signed? My good friend Vicky Manning, salute to her. I know she's running again. Let me see. If you're running at large, you and Vicky may end up as both winning seats, or you may be competitors. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would have no problem. Whomever wants to win the second seat. My goal is to win the first seat, which is great. So thank you for your support. I appreciate that. I have spoken to Vicky, as well as I have spoken to other people who are running for the at-large position. Vicky Manning, and I've never said otherwise, so I'm never trying to hide it. Vicky Manning was very graceful, and she has helped me get some signatures. How many they are, I don't know. I know I got a lot of signatures, and other people helped me get signatures. I had an advantage of, during the COVID event, I still was in my office. I was still seeing patients because we were essential. So we would kindly ask some patients if they wanted to sign it, and they graced me and signed the petition, which I greatly appreciate. There are other people who signed petitions for me, and that's great. What their motivation is, I don't know. And Paul, maybe you could speak to her, since it's obviously such a concern of yours why people are helping me get on the ballot. Getting on the ballot does not mean I win. That's not how the system works. You need to get on the ballot. Once you're on the ballot, the public, and Paul, thank you. I appreciate if you want to vote for me. You can vote, and then I can get the position. But I am not beholden to anybody. I will make my decisions on what's good for kids, and I will make my decisions on what's right for us as the community. Not what anybody else says or anybody does. And if somebody says, well, I helped you get signatures, I would say, yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's now work together so we can move forward on this item. But it doesn't mean that I have to agree to them or like them. All right. Now, for example, I'm going to talk to Vicky Manning in a second. And Amber, I want to take care of your question also, Amber. But Vicky Manning has a strict view on returning to school 5 days a week. And I don't have any problem with her view. My view is it's not safe yet to return to school. All right. So it's up to the voters out there to think that if I can now work with an individual like Vicky Manning, then we can make a good team. Or at the adverse, they could say, I can work with someone else, like yourself, Paul.
Interesting. Salute to Paul, and salute to my friend Vicky Manning again as well.
Yes.
Interesting. Amber asked about Val and Sal. Yeah. And we're going to answer that question a little later. Rebecca, we see your question. Boy, Rebecca goes in with the questions, boy. Rebecca, we're going to get back to your question in just a second. Right now, I'd like to ask, I'm interested in your stance on the culture of respect. Can you touch on the culture of respect? Is it just for teachers? Should students get a high level of respect? Is there a respect problem in our schools? Your thoughts?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Say that again.
I said, is there a respect problem in our schools? Is it just for teachers? Should students get a high level of respect? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the respect level has to go both ways. You have to have teachers who have to respect the students, and then students have to respect the teachers. So whether you're having something of students need to understand what does go involved in teaching the class, and the teachers have to look at, okay, what is your cultural background? How can I be sensitive to those issues? Then yes, those are things that need to be addressed on a regular basis. And it's a continuation thing. I spoke about the partnerships that you have developed partnership with the police department. You also need to have a partnership with the family, all right? Family and schools. So if the student has their respect with the family, the teachers, the parent, the grandmother, it doesn't matter, then we can move forward. But I think the ownership on respect from the initial first day of school has to be the students have to respect the teachers and the teachers have to respect the students. It's not you have to earn my respect. From the teacher being in the position of the teacher, you should give them the respect. However, if the teacher abuses it, then the student can easily no longer respect the teacher. And if the student no longer respects the teacher, guess what? They're not going to learn.
Here's where I would like to come in here a little bit with the grading. I want to bring it in together with some of the comments that I've seen on the feed. The grading system in Virginia Beach runs on various proficiency levels.
Yeah.
I understand you believe they've lowered the bar for our students. In 2022, valedictorian and salutatorian monikers are going to be phased out. Some school board candidates make it part of their platform to try to bring it back. Do you feel strongly on the topic of grading? And if so, what is your take?
All right, a 2-for-1 question. I like it. So for the proficiency levels, what I would do is I would clarify them to help the students and the parents. So for example, 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. You cannot be advanced proficient in 1 + 1 = 2. So why not place the grade over the maximum grade possible? So for example, if a child gets a P, proficient, then it should be P out of P. Then they could be happy. But if they didn't, do well, and they get a DP, then it should be DP / or out of the maximum grade possible of an AP. That way they can know what they need to work on the next quarter, as well as the parent now can say, wait a second, Johnny, Susie, Buffy, Jody, whatever your name is, you need to now start bucking up and doing some things, okay? In regard to the Val-Sal issue, all right, I think it's great to recognize students' accomplishments, all right? We recognize student athletes, student of the month, teacher of the year. Setting a goal is what we want to do and reach for, okay? But either way, they will learn from the process. We need to prepare them for the workforce in the future. Not everyone's going to get that job promotion, so why not allow students to learn this now? Now, that being said, before everybody starts writing questions, all right, I would like to bring Val-Sal back, but with a modification, all right? Why not have Val-Sal brought back, 1 Val-Sal for the academies and 1 Val-Sal for the regular high school program? This way, people in the regular high school program don't feel disadvantaged because they weren't taking the advanced classes that are in the academy. This way, we now have more of a equitable level field, but still recognizing students' accomplishments. I think I answered both parts, but if I missed something, let me know.
I think you do pretty well. Let's get back to some of these viewer questions.
Sure.
Seko, fire him out. What are your thoughts on the current zero policies from a good friend of the show, Faith?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a candidate and I need to research more and more. I am never the one to say I know anything and everything, all right? I know a lot, but I also know I don't know everything about the zero policies. So that being said, what I do know is we need to have everybody understand what the rules are. Everybody understand what you can get away with and what you can't get away with, and there needs to be consequences if you do something wrong. So if you hit a teacher, guess what? You shouldn't be put back in that teacher's classroom. All right? I've heard from teachers who they were at the Renaissance Academy, had a chair thrown at her, broke her collarbone, and guess what? The student was still in that classroom. That is not good at all. So we need to have teachers to be safe. We need students to be safe also. All right? And that ties in with everything that's going on right now with COVID. We need to have not only students be safe, we need to have teachers, staff, bus drivers, anybody who is affiliated, janitorial staff, anybody affiliated with the schools to be in a safe environment. So I hope that answered your question, but to be honest, I would really like to get your information so I can research the answer and give you a better answer on that.
Remember, a little later on, after we go back over this, you have the ability to, after you find out an answer you like, go back to the comment and respond. I think Faith would very much like that.
Sure.
Go bring up Lindsay's again. Do you support making anti-racism and bias training mandatory? Many Black and brown students hear racial slurs on a regular basis at schools, and teachers do nothing. What would you do to make these students feel like school is a safe place?
Yeah, very simply, yes, I would make them mandatory, period. I would also try to instill some type of policy, just like we are enacting with police departments. If in New York they say chokeholds are illegal now, if you see your partner or another police officer doing a chokehold, it is your obligation, not you can, it's your obligation to turn them in. I would be very in favor of saying, if you're a student and you see another student or hear another student or hear a teacher or see a teacher or anybody else doing anything that could be discriminatory, either on race, religion, sexual orientation, anything, that should be reported right away, because school should be a safe environment for they to learn and become good adults. I'm sorry, I'm a little passionate about these things.
Well, that's why you're running. Well, what would you do with the kids who are not allowed to go back to the classroom that hit a teacher?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something else I need to research, and I hate when people say that. But from my understanding, you write them up. If it's the PBIS program is not working, then you have suspensions, you have more time out, you have meetings with the principals, you have meetings with an advisory board from what I can remember. You have the possibility of Renaissance Academy. And if you need to then find an alternative operation to educate them, then you need to. It might be using online studies. It might be seeing about getting that student to an entirely different school district. So a lot of times students act out because they want to seem a certain way and act away in front of their friends. Well, if they're brought to another school, they might not be able to do that anymore, or they might not be motivated to do it and motivated to be better. So again, I need to research that a little bit also, but that's my gut feeling on those issues.
And to touch base with Faith's zero question, I think she clarified that she meant zeros in terms of grading.
Oh, okay, Faith. Yeah, zeros with grades. Great question. I am very against that, okay? So if somebody does the work and they get a 90, then great, they get a 90. If someone does not do the work, they should get a 0. I have no problem with one opportunity to redo it. But having students keep on getting do over, I don't think is acceptable. There are some people that say, listen, when you give somebody a 0, it's going to destroy their grade. There's no way to come out of that hole. As opposed to, if we give that student a 60, it still teaches the student a lesson. I can get on board on that. However, there's the big however, if we then decide, instead of giving zeros, and we're going to give students 60s, 50s, 40s, whatever the number it is, that number should remain consistent in every single school. The problem right now is that number is not consistent throughout every school. You can have one school can give 30s, another school give 50s, another school gives 40s, another school gives zeros. That is definitely not equitable. So you have some individuals who are in not the best environment, and for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. Why put them in that endless hole that they can never dig out? We want to teach students so they can grow and get better. So if we're not going to give a 0, okay, then let's give everybody a 60. Give them a chance to pull out of that hole. Because if you give them a 0 and you never give them an opportunity to get better, and now you've destroyed their grade point, and now they might not matriculate, now you're adding to the prison pipeline, because what else are they going to do?
You know, I'm glad you said that. I've gone back and forth with my peers. You know, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, counselor. I've done both. And that's a very strong point of contention. Some of us were raised, if you give 15% work, you get a 15. Others believe that you go to school to be in an educational setting. So once you learn, your grade should reflect your learning. And sometimes students learn at a different speed. Sometimes it might take 2 weeks for somebody to get the 1 week lesson, and they get it 2 weeks later. Once they demonstrate they have that, do you give them a chance to truly show what they've learned with a new grade? Some teachers say no. Some teachers say yes. It's been a really interesting point of contention. I want to bring up that
can I
you brought
answer that,
up.
Seko, for a second? Can I answer
All
that
right,
for a
go ahead.
second?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think you should give students that opportunity to learn. Whatever your religion is, you're all given a chance to become again, renew, recreate yourself. Forgive me for my sins. I want to be better. All right? In school, if you do something bad, hey, you got next quarter to get better. You can improve. Put your effort into it, study harder, get better. So in regards to my initial view when I first got into the race was, yep, everybody should get zeros, the end. Then I spoke to more people and I got educated on it. So I am in a favor of making it a 60. A 60 is not giving them the same level as everybody else, but it's teaching them this is where you are and this is what you need to get better. You're not in that endless hole that you can never improve. We want students to be learning and improve. If they're not going to improve, then what are they going to school for?
Interesting point. Why 60? Why not just the threshold for a failing grade, like a 59 or a 58? Why 60? That seems like a very specific number.
I'm not stuck to that number. That's something that, since I am not a elementary school, middle school, or high school teacher, I would default that to them and their opinion and get a board to get together and say, this is what we recommend. We think if we give them a 60, it's still giving them a message. It's bringing their grade down, but enough that they can pull out of it. So I'm not locked on that number. But I think whatever number it is, it should be universal across every single school across the district.
Okay. Before we started the show, you and I got a chance to discuss the position of being independent. I began my quote unquote political awareness as a Democrat. Then I started listening to Rush Limbaugh, and I became, to my parents' chagrin, I became a Republican. And then I started really paying attention to everything. And I was like, too much hypocrisy. Neither people are working things out. Both sides are problematic. And I ended up finding myself in an independent situation. However, when I ran for the school board, I ended up finding myself aligned because you had to find a space to fit in to really get supported with the Democratic Party, even though everyone knew I was independent. You're running as an independent in an area that's very partisan. You're not going to get on the ballot of the Democrats. You're not going to get on the ballot of the Republicans. The VBEA is really blue. How do you do that? I mean, how do you maintain that? Talk to that.
Yeah, I'd love to. I feel being independent puts me in the unique position for the at-large position of being the only individual that is independent. So the at-large and other school board positions, they are nonpartisan. All right? There's no R, there's no D, there's no I, there's nothing after your name. Okay? However, when you look at everybody and research them and do your homework, which I hope everybody does, do the homework on me, do homework on all the candidates out there, you'll see distinctly where they lie. You just see distinctly what their opinions and views are. If they line up with you, great. You got your man or woman. If they don't line up with you exactly, then you need to look at somebody else. I'm running as an independent. I am looking at what's the best interest for the students today and in the future. Like I said before, I have no aspirations of going any further than this. I want to represent you guys and take care of the kids. So I am not beholden to any party. In fact, I would have loved to participate in anybody who wants to have a conversation, anybody who wants to have a panel of speakers. All right. I don't know why people may or may not be scared of an independent. It might have been an oversight. I'm happy to talk in the future. It's one of those things that I would think both parties would want to be open and transparent to their membership and let their membership make the right decision for themselves. I've spoken to the VBEA. I've spoken to people from have different positions and people have the same positions as me. I have my personal political views. My wife has her personal political views. The school board is not about politics. It is about the kids.
Oh man, that was beautiful. that was the beautiful ending. Beautiful ending. You would think we had given you that question. Soundbite alert.
Hey, I know.
I'm from New York. I know nothing better but keep on talking, and sometimes I talk too much, so I apologize. But, that's where I am. I've been a transplant here for 20 years, so I can talk forever. I like myself, so I can talk to myself,
Conrad, what were you saying, good brother?
I nominate the Beach Brothers Show to be the place to hold such a forum.
I agree. I'll take it.
Ashe. One of our questions was, that's interesting. Are you running at large or in a district? I think you said earlier that you're running at large. One thing that I think is important for everyone to understand, though, is in Virginia Beach, even though he's running at large, the entirety of Virginia Beach is able to vote for or vote against Doc. So it doesn't matter if he's running for a district. As it stands currently, the entirety of Virginia Beach will get a chance to decide if you represent the entirety of Virginia Beach as an at-large person. If you ran for a district, the entirety of Virginia Beach would still have that choice. Virginia Beach is kind of interesting. We want to conserve all the power.
Yes, you're right. In Virginia Beach, everybody can vote for me and one other candidate of your choosing. Yes, you're right, Seko.
And myself.
All right. All right.
And of course, Conrad. You got to vote for Conrad as well. My apologies, buddy.
Oh, okay. Let me do that. Let me put that up here. Bam.
There we go.
I'm only surrounded by it.
Now that's not an endorsement from the Beach Brothers, but I got to salute my good brother Conrad. I do find, though, as an independent, it can be very challenging because the Reds want more red. That's why the Red Party is there. The Blues want more blues. That's why the Blues Party is there. And when we look on the school board right now, there's a big struggle between the predominant amount of blues and the smaller amount of reds and the challenges that they have on getting on one accord. But neither one of them want a purple. They don't want a purple, but that's my position. But maybe you can break that. We have another viewer question. Let's see what that is.
Yeah.
There are more places to get info than... Okay, the viewers are having a conversation amongst themselves. I think that one is directed towards Paul.
Yeah, thank you for your support, Rebecca. I appreciate it.
So how do you break the divide that we have on our current school board?
I mean, it's one of those things that I've mentioned earlier. It's communication. It's talking. I have spoken to members who are existing board members. I have spoken to pretty much every single one of my competitors at the school board at-large race. I have not spoken to you, Paul, because I know you're going to pop it up on the screen. I have not spoken to you yet. All right? You didn't return my call. That's okay. I'm more than happy to discuss things if you want. But I've spoken to every other candidate, I believe, or at least reached out to every other candidate. To me, it's about communication. If you could communicate, then you can understand the other person's side. And if you can understand the other side, you can come out with a resolution. So when I was younger, all right, you would have a bunch of people walk into a room. They'd all have their opinions. and they'd walk out of the room. They'd all be upset, but they'd have a deal. No one was happy, but they moved things along and forward. I'm just looking for that. I'm not saying I'm going to get my way all the time. And I'm not saying someone else is going to get their way all the time. But if I could communicate effectively, efficiently, let them know my opinion and views, they might see it my way. And now we can move things forward for the good of the community.
All right. Conrad, you have anything you want to bring to the table?
Well, as we're nearing out here, I would greatly like to appreciate Dr. Feld, actually. I want to make sure I get the doctor right, for coming on tonight to not only just bring your opinion, but bring animation. I like the idea of someone who has a little bit of dynamism to them. That's something I'm working on myself. And we got a last little bit of another question here by Faith, if we want to fit that in. If you were on the school board right now, what would be your first action step?
Well, simply it would be, I think I'm unmuted now. What I would do, Faith, is I would actually have everybody sit down and discuss things on how we can address the COVID. All right. That is important. The quicker we can let teachers know, the quicker they can prepare and get things ready for the students. And I would get everybody together and we would hash it out and do the best we can. I would get influence from everybody. And if teachers wanted to comment, whether they want to do it publicly or anonymously, I would want to get their information, as well as I want parents to give the information. You got to remember that schools are not the reason to get back to work. All right. It's not the school's job to make the economy run again. That is business's job. So if we decide, the superintendent, the school board currently decide to do 2 days, 3 days, whatever the hybrid is, or no days, I think a job needs to be flexible. And again, this is not a school board issue, but the job needs to be flexible for that parent or that teacher. Because if that teacher is now going into school to teach the class 2 days a week, that means their child is home the other days. They need to be flexible. That workplace needs to be flexible so they can be providing that care to their own children. But I think right now, a lot of people were saying, all the teachers are heroes. They're all heroes. Well, that wasn't that long ago. Now, where are they? All right? Teachers are still heroes in my book. And we have to give them the respect that they need for that.
Oh, wow. You're the king of the one-liners there, Doc. That was sweet. We want to thank our great friend for the night, Doc Feld. I think we had a really interesting conversation with him. What do you say, Conrad?
Oh, I greatly enjoyed it. This is a type of atmosphere that sort of feels greatly optimistic and enthused. Enthused would definitely be the word I'd be looking for tonight.
Good stuff. Well, we got a chance to meet with Luis. We got a chance to talk with Paul. Today we had a chance to talk with Doc. Hopefully we can get my friend Vicky Manning on the show pretty soon.
I love it.
Some of the others.
I've reached out to Mr. Justin Burns. He seems open to come on too. So that should be fairly soon.
Beautiful. I know yesterday we got a chance to speak to Scott Taylor, and his team is interested in coming on the show. Maybe we can get Elaine Laurier on the show. That's going to be a really interesting combat between the rematch of Scott Taylor and Elaine Laurier. That's really going to be interesting.
Especially if they're looking for a place to go to debate. Why not the Beach Brothers show?
Why not?
Put it out in the open.
Not? Okay, good stuff. Want to remind everybody that if you're interested in appearing on the Beach Brothers show, contact our booker, who is Conrad. Contact Conrad and he'll get you on the show. If you'd like to have your business featured, get in contact with Jose Cruz. He'll help you get your financial house in order, and he'll also get your business featured on your show. All right. And I'm your serial entrepreneur. So if you're interested in getting your credit repaired or some of my other consulting services, get in contact with me. We want to say it's time for you to get your watch by Tally and Twine. It's time for you to get your watch by Tally and Twine. We thank Tally and Twine, a Virginia manufacturer, a Hampton Roads manufacturer, who employs people in Hampton Roads to make high quality fine timepieces. We thank them for being on time and supporting the Beach Brothers show. Conrad is running for city council, so if you're so inclined, check out our friend Conrad. Okay, that's him. He got a chance to show his face. And you've been checking out the Beach Brothers show. We thank you. We appreciate all the viewer comments. Let me see what this last comment says. All right. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Rebecca. And we thank everyone for watching the show. Hey, Conrad, last words.
VB1. Virginia Beach #1, man. Let's keep it beachy. And thank you guys all for watching the Beach Brothers show.
All right, that's right. Keep it beachy. If you love Virginia Beach like we love Virginia Beach, type VB1 in the chat. If you love VA, if you like Virginia, if you love Virginia the way we love Virginia, that's 2 up, 2 down, then type VA1 or V1. Type V1 in the chat. My last words, hey, power to the protesters.